Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling is a romantic comedy visual novel that continues the story from the original Cupid Parasite game. Truth be told, I initially assumed that the fandisk was all just spicy fan service content, and I'm glad I was wrong. In this video, I'll be sharing what I liked and what I think could use a bit of improvement in my gameplay. And hopefully, by the end of the video, you should have a good idea of whether or not this Otome fandisk is for you. Just a heads up, since the game is a fandisk and I'll be showing clips from official channels, there will be spoilers from the first game and a few minor spoilers you might consider from the fandisk. Thank you to the publishers for giving us a key to the game, and while we've been given a key, all opinions shared here are our own. So without further ado, here are 7 things you need to know before you play Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling. First up is the plot. In the first game, we were introduced to the world of Lynette Mirror, who is actually Cupid, the goddess of love, living undercover in the human world. Working at a top marriage agency called Cupid Corporation, she previously helped 5 difficult clients known as the Parasite 5 find love. This sequel explores what happens after Lynette and the Parasite 5 have started their romantic relationships. Events from the first game are seamlessly integrated in the story, so you won't have to worry about forgetting what happened in each of the bachelors' respective routes. The game offers a mix of heartwarming and humorous moments as Lynette navigates dating and newlywed life with her chosen partner. The fandisk offers multiple game modes. The After Drama mode, which continues the stories of the original Parasite 6, exploring life after the initial romance. Each love interest has 3 possible endings: sweet, spicy, and sweet and spicy. The new Parasite mode focuses on Marinus Levin's route, a new storyline that connects the original game to the sequel. Then we have Bonus Episode mode, where you unlock additional stories and scenes on both the first game and the fandisk for further character development. It provides a different point of view on the main stories, which I quite liked. Moving on to the love interests. Ryuki is the former glamour parasite and is obsessed with looking good and how others see him. He's voiced by Junya Enoki. Known for his work as Zephora from Radiant Tale, Luca from Ikarev, and Mihaya from Paradigm Paradox. Ryuki's story is about learning that what's inside matters just as much as how he looks on the outside. Throughout his route, he starts to realize that true love isn't about just looking good together, but about connecting on a deeper level. And my favorite is that, similar to the first game, there's also a budding romance among the supporting cast in his route. I feel that his story is quite fun and can get a bit flashy, but is definitely pretty meaningful as he matures emotionally. Shelby is the former prestige parasite and is always focused on his success and living up to high standards. He's voiced by Ken, known for his work as Nori from Sympathy Kiss, Limbo from Bustafellows, and Yukimaru from 9-Rip. In his route, you'll see a lot of vulnerability behind his perfect image, and I quite liked how intense his story gets as he learns to be open and trust Lynette with his true feelings. I love how Lynette is just the president's wife in this route. She's that and so much more. His romance can get a bit dramatic but pretty rewarding because it shows that love isn't about control but about being yourself. I find Shelby's exchanges about mythology and Celestia to be so funny, and it's just so him and the rest of the cast. Gil is the former lovelorn parasite. He's voiced by Ryohei Kimura, known for his work as Shiraishi from Caller Malice, Nicola from Pio Fiore, and Arthur from Ikevamp. I actually enjoyed his overbearing lovelorn personality in the first game. It did get a bit toned down in the sequel, especially because Lynette finally reciprocated his feelings. There's a lot of sweet moments in his route. It's full of emotional moments where he learns to finally let go of his fears and fully trust Lynette. A loving relationship goes both ways after all. That said, if you enjoyed his route in the first game, don't worry, there's a lot of comedy and other things that get weirder. If you know, you know. So do expect a similar vibe. P.S. His BGM is one of the best in the game's soundtrack. Raoul's the former obsessed parasite. He's super passionate, sometimes a bit too much. He's voiced by Tako Yashiro, known for his work as Goemon from Tengoku Struggle, Adol from Virge Evermore, and Tokyo from Paradigm Paradox. In his route, he He still talks about mythology, but not as much as in the first game, and I'm thankful for that. The plot in His Root took me by surprise. It was seemingly out of nowhere, but honestly, I was pretty invested by the end. His Root also has the most over-the-top action scenes, which could be a good thing if you're into that. I do enjoy how creative this token himbo can get, and I love how Lynette matches his energy as well. Alan is the former thieving parasite. He's voiced by Makoto Furukawa, known for his work as Chris from Even If Tempest, Yorimoto from Biroshana, and Dazai from Charade Maniacs. I like that his story is fun and playful, but also dives into his insecurities and why he feels the need to prove himself. In His Root, you explore more on what it means to be a demon, and I like how it expounds more on certain mythologies and the world of demons in the game. One gripe I have, however, is that in one challenge they have to face, there are no subtitles of any sort from the random voices that's supposed to hinder them. I understand that this was probably how it was coded in the Japanese version as well, and it shouldn't pose a problem to them since they can understand without text. But it's just different for the English-only audience. I just see them as monologuing instead. A minor detail really, it just diminished my immersion in the game and overall enjoyment. That said, I do really like Alan and His Root despite that. How he handled the resolution to his subplots and main plot was just so him. Peter is the former sensitive parasite. He's voiced by Nobuhiko Okamoto, known for his work as Raddy from Radiant Tale, Yang from Pio Fiore, and Taiga from Variable Barricade. I actually really liked His Root. There's this form of realism where our issues with ourselves do not get resolved in 1, 2, 3 days. It takes time. I find that his sensitivity makes his romance sweet, but it also shows how hard it can be to overcome self-doubt and build a stronger relationship. His interaction with Lynette is pretty endearing. However, I find that I did not care as much about the cast from Celestia that the plot resolution did not have the same impact that it did during the first game. I did, however, like the character growth for both Peter and Lynette. Overall, the after drama uses the same themes from the first game in terms of plot, and of course, their love types. I find that there's less comedy in this sequel and a bit more serious, maybe because there are higher stakes. But for me, I personally like it this way as it shows how Lynette's relationship matures with each love interest. Moving on to the new parasite, Marinus Levin is the Destiny Parasite. He's voiced by Yuto Uemura, known for his work as Tokisada from Olympia Soiree, Kazuna from B Project, and Rami from Despera Drops. He's the new love interest and his story is more about fate or destiny and how it plays a role in love. His root does get pretty interesting because it deals with the idea of destiny versus making your own choices in love. However, you'll be introduced to a whole lot of new lore. I feel that it doesn't really add on to the existing world building from the first game. If you do like a story that's fresh and unique compared to the existing roots, then his main story is a pretty good palate cleanser. But don't worry, there's still the trademark comedy from Cupid Parasite roots. My favorite part will be how Lynette, our heroine, also questions how much of love is meant to be, and how much is in her hands. Quite a philosophical conundrum. Oh, and if you're a fan of Owen, he has a mini-root that branches from Marinus' main story. I find it quite short, but still enjoyable. You do get to see a different side of Owen. Our heroine, Lynette Mirror, is still to this day one of my favorite heroines in Otome. And I love how even in the sequel, she still has a lot of growing up to do alongside her love interests. I'm glad that even though this is already the sequel, that she still is critical to the plot of each route and not just a token bride. Throughout the game in different routes, she still has quite a consistent personality, which I appreciate. And while still a bit dense, I find her to be compassionate, determined, and often try to do right by her man. Her journey involves personal growth as she supports her partners while also pursuing her own happiness, never just the love interests. The game has a variety of supporting characters who enrich the story. And we finally get to see the adorable angelic side of Clarice as she pines for a love interest of her own. There are new additions to the supporting cast like Robin Bullitt, a cheerful donut shop worker, and Ellie Omar, a business executive, which add depth to the new storylines. These characters provide additional perspectives and the antithesis of some of the original love interests. They definitely contribute to the game's humor and charm. I find that Lynette's faceless co-workers, the other bridal advisors, have more personality in this game, which makes her workspace a lot more interesting. The game features vibrant and colorful artwork that brings the characters and settings to life. Similar to the first game, the fan disc double downs on its maximalist aesthetic. I wasn't too fond of it during the first game, as there were so many things to look at. It was a pretty busy screen. However, in the fan disc, I find it pretty nostalgic, and the Swiss theme is a cute bonus. The new map feature's art style matches the game's energetic and whimsical tone. The love interest's inputs here are unlocked once you complete the respective endings. The new backgrounds look so seamless with the original ones from the first game, and I couldn't believe how many new ones there are. My favorite change-up from the first game will be the minor but significant change in the sprites. The wedding rings. It's a subtle change, but I can't help but feel giddy every time I see it. Moving on to the soundtrack. I've always been a fan of the soundtrack in the first game, so I had pretty high expectations there. And Sweet and Spicy Darling did not disappoint. It has the same vibe, albeit a bit more mature. The soundtrack complements the game's atmosphere with catchy opening and ending themes by the Biscats. The background music sets the mood for different scenes, from light-hearted moments to more emotional encounters. And similar to the first game, there's a dedicated BGM for each love interest. I've mentioned it earlier, but Gil's BGM is living rent-free in my head. Love how you can actually put it on loop within the game. Overall, I really enjoyed how the after-stories of each love interest have the same vibes from the respective roots in the first game. I find that Cupid Parasite Sweet and Spicy Darling is a delightful continuation of the original game, offering a mix of romance, humor, and engaging storytelling. It provides a deeper look into the relationships between Lynette and the love interests, exploring the challenges and joys of dating and marriage. If you enjoyed the first game or like visual novels with strong character development and multiple story paths, this game is worth checking out. Its charming visuals, memorable characters, and interactive gameplay make it appealing for fans of romantic comedies and dating sims. If you enjoy heroines like Lynette, check out this next video and you might find a rare gem. Stay awesome, gamers!